Thinking of applying for BTO? Stop. Let's sit down and talk about what are the choices before you apply. So, BTO has been launched in three categories: standard, plus, and prime. So let's talk about the difference. For standard, right, it will be the same with all others previous launches. The MOP period is 5 years. Then followed by plus. Plus are categorized as plus because it's closer to MRT station and to amenities. So under plus, the location will be a better location, closer to all the amenities and easier transportation. Followed by prime, such as CBD area and also close to MRT stations. Then you will go into the prime categories. So what are the major difference? Something that you really have to take note is the MOP period. So for standard is only 5 years MOP, but for plus and prime, the MOP period is 10 years. You have 10 years commitment, a decade, 10 years of your time to be with the house. Then second thing that you probably have to consider is if you were to purchase a plus or a prime, you are not allowed to rent out the whole unit. You are only allowed to rent out a room, example 1 or 2 rooms. So this is something that you also have to take into consideration. Now, thirdly, you need to understand is that if you were to purchase plus and prime, there will be a higher subsidies. Example, plus give you this amount of subsidy. For prime, because it's a better locations, the subsidy given will be even higher. So subsidy itself is a good thing to help you to get a unit at a good location if you have the intention to stay for long. Now, what you have to understand is that since they give you a higher subsidy, of course, when at the point of time you MOP, you have the intention to sell, there will be a subsidy recovery, or you can call that a clawback amount. So for plus, it will be about 6 to 8% of the selling price that will be recovered back. And then as for prime, it will be 9% and above. So just take this into consideration if you intend to commit to a plus or a prime property. Now, if you really have the intention to have more choices, maybe after 5 years, job are more stable, you have great increments, career have been shooting up, you wanted to have something more, or maybe your neighbors are a bit unfriendly that you're probably thinking of, maybe I should change to another location, or maybe because of family needs. You have elderlies that you need to take care, you need to stay close to your parents, then a standard property, under standard 5-year MOP, you have a choice to make a move rather than committing yourself for 10 years MOP. So if you have the intention to upgrade in the near future, or you do have this targets that you wanted to go to private condo or landed, then probably 5 years MOP will be a better choice for you, right? So now I want to share some experience. I myself take up a HDB flat at we do have neighbor because we're at the corner, right? We're at the corner and there's an L shape, something like U shape, U shape side. So the opposite neighbor tends to quarrel every single day, and the way they quarrel is they have to open up the door and they scream to the tip of their voice where the whole block, because of the U shape, it have echo and everyone can hear what they are screaming about, right? And sometimes when they get so emotional, they become very physical. They like to bang the main door and things like that, and it will shock the surrounding. Such as for my situation is I do have a baby, and every time when they start this, we have to bring the baby into the master bedroom, which is the furthest away from the main door, and try to bring down the voice level of their quarrel. And every time they bang the door, right, you give a baby a shock. Not even a baby, adult, you feel a shock. For baby, they'll cry, right? So they have been doing this very, very often, and also to the point that some of the neighbors really cannot take it. They call the police, especially when they scream for help, lah. they start to be physical and screaming for help. So someone just call the police. So since we are just opposite, right? They thought that we are the one who call the police, which we actually quietly endure whatever they are doing. We still treat them nicely, but they stare at everyone they suspect is the one who called the police. So very unfortunately, we are just directly opposite, and we do have a baby. So we become one of the possible suspect who they thought we called the police. All right. So we are innocent, but when your neighbor every day give you a black face, stare at you, especially they are the one who create all this trouble, and you have endured all this thing, and yet being treated in such a manner, we are really suffering, and that motivates us to move away from that area. Alright, so sometimes if you meet some very unreasonable, unfriendly neighbor, you probably will suffer. And luckily for me, they started that about 2 or 3 years after they moved in. So we suffer about 2 years plus, and we left the area after we MOP. So sometimes the triggering point could be a not so friendly neighbor that is really inconsiderate for the surrounding, and especially when they scream and the whole block can hear them with echo, right? Okay, so before you make a decision to purchase Plus and Prime, do carefully consider this. And if you do not have a friendly neighbor and you intended to move to somewhere else, you are not allowed to rent out the whole flat, right? And if in the future you have the intention to sell, just take note that your buyer have a income cap, which is 14,000 income. Based on MSR, the amount they can loan from HDB are limited, and therefore, if you want to sell at a high price, you are expected the buyer to be able to fork out cash, a few hundred K of cash in order to purchase. So just take note of the situations, and if you were to commit to Plus and Prime, this is something that's important for you to consider. Thanks for watching. Hope you have learned something from this. Do like and share with your friend who need this.